I met Paul and said, do you want to join my band, you know? And then George joined. And then Ringo joined. We were just a band who made it very, very big, that's all.
Hello there, my name's Scott, and welcome to Dig a Podcast, a show in which I give you an in-depth story behind the songs sung by the best band there is, was, and ever will be, the Beatles. In this season, Season 2, we work our way through the album Meet the Beatles, or our UK listeners know it as With the Beatles. Meet the Beatles is the second Beatles album released in the United States. It was the first US Beatles album to be issued by Capitol Records on 20th of January 1964 in both mono and stereo formats. It topped the popular album chart on the 15th of February 1964 and remained at number 1 for 11 weeks before being replaced by the Beatles' second album. The cover featured Robert Freeman's iconic portrait of the Beatles used in the UK for the With the Beatles, with a blue tint added to the original stark black and white photograph. Next up is track 4 on Meet the Beatles.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It Won't Be Long. The pressure of songwriting can be tremendous when your aim is to extend a successful career. The list of one-hit wonders of the 50s and 60s is extensive, and this trend has grown to monumental proportions as time has passed. Having a big hit on the charts is a thrill, and is for most a once-in-a-lifetime experience. The trick is to perpetuate a reputation as musicians or songwriters as that your latest release will be accepted with open arms even before it is heard. To reach that state, though, you need to prove yourself. Within a year's time, the Beatles had already proven themselves. They achieved their first British number 1 on most of the British charts with their second single, Please Please Me, in February of 1963. They followed this up with From Me to You, which shot to number 1 in Britain for an amazing 7 weeks throughout May and June of 1963. Then came the infectious pop anthem She Loves You, which also reached number 1 and broke all sales records in Britain by selling 1.3 million copies. It was becoming quite apparent to the Lennon-McCartney songwriting team that having to continually top their last success was a daunting task. The pressure was indeed on. Songwriting history. In July of 1963, shortly after the song She Loves You was recorded, John Lennon's wheels were turning as to what would be the follow-up single. He came up with a chorus of a new song that utilized the repeating of the word yeah, as She Loves You had done, figuring that their fans would latch on to the gimmick once the fourth British single was released. His sixth sense was correct, as the phrase yeah 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 became the catchword phrase in the autumn of 1963. Contained in the chorus of the new song was a play on words that both Lennon and McCartney liked to throw into the lyrics to make things interesting. The song Please Please Me contained the double use of the word please, using it as a request and then an action. In this case, Lennon used the phrase be long, specifying an amount of time, with belong as an ownership. McCartney explained this interesting wordplay. I was doing literature at school, so I was interested in plays on words and onomatopoeia. John didn't do literature, but he was quite well read, so he was interested in that kind of thing. Concerning the song, Paul relates, we both like to try and get a little bit of double meaning in, so that was the high spot of writing that particular song. The occurrence of double meanings can be spotted throughout the Lennon-McCartney catalogue. In the song You Won't See Me, That phrase meant that his girlfriend was too busy to give him any attention. But in the second verse, it meant that he would turn away. She literally wouldn't be able to see him. In Good Morning, a subtle play on words can be spotted in the similar sounding words of the verse. Somebody needs to know the time. Glad that I'm here. These little tricks became a habit and created a fun exercise for the Beatles fans to discover. At a writing session with McCartney on July of 1963, John introduced a newly written chorus of It Won't Be Long to Paul with the intention of collaborating. McCartney recalls, "It was his original idea, but we both sat down and wrote it together, with the intention of writing a follow-up song to yet an unreleased She Loves You." They put together an impressive package of verses and bridges in unusual configuration with an already written chorus. Another gimmick that was introduced at this time was the call and response presentation of the chorus, which started out the song. This juxtaposition of John and Paul's yes became an attractive trademark of the chorus and, in turn, the entire song. The twice repeated bridge, beginning with the words "Since You Left Me," is particular evidence of John and Paul's collaboration, with the descending chord pattern typical of McCartney contrasted with the predominant single-note melody line consistently found in Lennon's works. As history has revealed, It Won't Be Long did not become the Beatles' next single release, nor was it released as a single at all. It never really made it, stated Lennon concerning the song not being their next British single. Emphasis was being made writing a song for the next single that would appeal particularly to American audiences. When Lennon and McCartney tried again, they came up with "I Wanna Hold Your Hand," which, as history shows, made the grade. It's not to say It Won't Be Long was considered a disappointment, because George Martin was always looking for a pot boiler to start off a new Beatles album, and this excellent song fit the bill. It may have been relegated to the fourth song on the Meet the Beatles album in America, but the technical superiority of the fast-paced rocker made it a definite standout to the album. Recording history. It Won't Be Long was the first original song recorded for the second British album with the Beatles. 5 cover songs were partially recorded or completed for the album before the work started on what was then thought to be the next single. The second ever recording sessions for With the Beatles album occurred on July 30th in Studio 2 of EMI Studios. The first of 2 recording sessions that day ran from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m, which commenced with the start and completion of a cover version of the marvelous hit Please Mr. Postman. Next on the agenda at approximately 11:30 a.m, the Beatles started on It Won't Be Long. 10 takes were made in this early session, which included 2 overdubs of the ending. Unfortunately, all this is scrapped with the intention of starting over again in the session recording session of the day. After the band left for a rehearsal and recording session at the Playhouse Theatre for the BBC radio show Saturday Club, they returned to EMI for their second session in Studio 2 from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. After adding tracks to the previously recorded Money, That's What I Want, completely remaking the previously recorded Till It Was You, and fully recording and completing another cover tune, Chuck Berry's Roll Over Beethoven, the Beatles finally returned to It Won't Be Long, approximately between 8 and 9:30 p.m. They started from scratch, recording takes 11 through 17, the last of which included Lennon's overdubbed lead vocals. Edit pieces of George Harrison's ending guitar flourishes were then recorded, which were designated takes 18 through 23. It was then decided that complete take 17 and edit piece 21 were the best, so these would be edited together at a later date. Being that this day also produced the finished version of the excellent All My Lovin', July 30th, 1963 proved itself to be a very productive day for the Beatles. 5 of the 14 tracks of their second album with the Beatles were completed on this day, as well as most of their 6th song. 10 of the songs on their first album may have been finished in one day, but not with the technical advances and studio tricks such as voice-over dubbing that were beginning to be utilised on their second British album. The master tape of the song was then edited together from takes 17 and 21 on August 21st. The edited tape was then mixed for mono on this day in preparation for, as it turned out, their second British album. Only producer George Martin and engineers Norman Smith and Jeff Emmerich were present for the session. The song then received its stereo mix on October 29th, using the same edited master tape made on August 21st. This prepared the song for its stereo albums in Britain and hopefully at this point America. Since I Wanna Hold Your Hand was recorded and mixed for mono by this time, it was obviously known that It Won't Be Long was not going to be the next single release. The same engineers were present in the studio with George Martin on this day, joined by a mysterious engineer known only by the initials BT. Thanks for listening to Dig a Podcast. You can subscribe to our podcast on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other podcasting platform. This has been a Team Wilco production. Until next time, if you know what I mean. Do I did? No? Okay.